What do you do if your neighbor commits a grave offense? Good afternoon. What do you do if your neighbor does something that's not good? He's committed an offense. That's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to kind of walk through it, how I would take a look at it as a real estate agent. Let's get into it right now. Rockford Alderman charged with DUI, criminal damage after allegedly urinating on neighbor's house. Well, that is not the neighborly thing to do. Okay. It says Rockford Alderman faces charges of DUI, criminal trespassing, criminal damage to property, disorderly conduct, and carrying a concealed firearm while under the influence. Wow. Somebody went on a bender. According to court records, an Illinois state trooper responded around 3:20 a.m. Police were initially called to the address after the residents said a man had crashed into their parked vehicle and knocked loudly on their door. According to the police, the neighbors told the fellow to leave, but he did not, and then damaged their garage door opener and urinated on their garage door. No damage was found to any of the vehicles, which is interesting because they said the residents said a man had crashed into their parked vehicle and knocked loudly on their door. Very interesting. It says the fellow was standing outside his truck, which was in the neighbor's yard when they arrived. He told the questioning trooper he was unsure where he was coming from. Wow. He refused a sobriety test, and then said a loaded handgun was found in a lockbox in his vehicle. So, I mean, it wasn't an honest person. We already went over this. He was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol, disorderly conduct, carrying a concealed firearm while under the influence, criminal damage to property, and criminal trespass to property. And then at the end, it's got a statement from the mayor of Rockford, but we'll just go over that in a different thing. So I thought to myself, I said, hey, what do you do when your neighbor, really goes on a bender? Do you just kind of laugh along? Who fixes up the property? I think that's where I'm at. Who fixes the property? So I was like, well, let's Google this. So I went over to this article here out of the Seattle Times. It says mending fences, tips for resolving conflicts between neighbors in Seattle's tight quarters. Now, admittedly, this is not Rockford, Illinois, but I thought that would be good. So I went through the article. It talked about reasons why people get mad, but then it says down here in the bottom, it says steps to take for conflict resolution. I thought, well, that's helpful because I would be in conflict with my neighbor. I mean, I like my neighbors, but if they cause that kind of commotion, I'd be upset. But then it says down here, for more tips, visit this. So I said, okay, let's do that. So here we go. Are you in the middle of a dispute? These tips might be helpful. It says step back and slow down. Most of us repeat unhelpful behaviors in conflicts because we are unaware of what we're doing. We can only change habits through awareness and plan what you want to say to avoid saying something that will escalate a conflict. So when this man is urinating on your garage door, you should step back and slow down and say, wait a minute, this isn't good. Be clear about your intentions and goals for the conversation. So you should, as you're sitting back there watching him do this, you should say like, well, what is my goal for the conversation? My own thought would be, I'd be so irritated with the guy that I wouldn't say a word. Definitely wouldn't be having a goal for the conversation other than to express my severe displeasure for what has just occurred. And then it says, listen first to understand, ask questions to explore the other person's story. So my understanding or my reading of this, I should go to the man while he's being, taken care of by police. And I should say like, hey, like, what are you thinking? Like, I'm trying to understand why you think this is okay. And then you should express strong feelings without blame. So, it says strong feelings make it impossible for us to really listen. Now, I feel like I have a reason to be having strong feelings at this point. You've urinated on my garage door, and you woke me up at 3:20 in the morning. Use I statements to express what you're feeling. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling very upset, and I feel like something should happen to you that's not good. Be sure to state a feeling as opposed to a judging statement after saying I feel. Okay? Be sure to carefully describe the other party's behavior without adding evaluations to it. Well, I mean, the key is to be completely honest without blaming the other. No, I will blame the person for driving on my yard, getting out, banging on my door, and urinating on the garage door. I will blame them. I feel that that's their fault. Be aware of how your own self-image might make you more defensive. Avoid an all or nothing black and white view of yourself. In this way, you become more open feedback. I don't really care about their feedback at this point. I'm just angry that they did this. It says, take responsibility for your assumptions. Be willing to let go of your interpretation, believing that our beliefs and conclusions about others are the truth. That creates a lot of conflict. So I shouldn't assume that, I don't know. I assume that this person's a jerk for doing this, but I guess I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Find common ground. I don't know if there's any, I mean, this is an act of war. I mean, I don't know what common ground I'm going to find here. I mean, sometimes you say, well, put yourself in the shoes of the other person. So I should put myself in the shoes of someone that's just driven up on my front yard and relieved themselves on my garage door. Explore what is most important the other person. Explore what is most important the other person by listening and asking questions out of curiosity. People don't usually enter a conflict by stating what is most important to them. You can only problem solve if you know what the other person really wants. People usually enter conflict with only one solution, theirs to a problem. Well, I don't know what the solution is going to be, but I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be angry, and I don't even know that I need to explore it too much. Like, I don't care what's most important to the other person. What's most important to me is that you don't drive on my yard and urinate on my garage door. Let go of the myths about conflict. Conflict is not a contest. Don't make it one. And conflict is not always negative. Okay. Remember the 4 principal approaches to conflict. Acknowledge the conflict. Okay. If you resist, they will push even harder. To acknowledge does not mean to agree and be willing to change. I'm not changing. I believe this person has wronged me. Okay. I'm not changing. I don't care. And then when initiating a conversation about a conflict, ask the other party if they're willing to have a conversation. Now, I don't know, in a drunken stupor at 3:20 in the morning, I don't know if they're willing to have that conversation. I'm not really willing to have that conversation. I'm ready to fight. Tell them the topic and the importance of the conversation to you in maintaining a good relationship. You know what? You've burnt all your bridges at this point, to be honest. And then it says allow them to save face. I don't think that's possible. And then it says be open to learning new information. Now, maybe he had an allergic reaction to the meds. I don't know. But right now we're not doing well. We're not gonna have a good time with this. So, would this work maybe this would work later, like I don't know. Even the next day, I'm going to be pretty sore about this. I get up early. You're waking me up. So that's one of the thoughts I have. Another one was, it's such a boring statement out of the mayor. It says, I'm aware of the situation. At this point, it's a legal matter to be addressed by the courts. City Council and I will not allow this incident to distract us from serving our residents and making a positive impact on our community. Now, I don't understand who was saying that it would. I don't know if you're making a positive impact on the community or not. I don't know anything about Rockford. All I know is that this is a very boring statement, and it's very interesting when politicians use the legal matter for the court's argument versus when they think an issue should be discussed in public. It seems to depend on the infraction and who's doing it 100%. So, I don't know. You can't just come out and say, hey, I don't think that was such a great idea, if true. I mean, it's just double speak. Okay, and then it says, does being an alderman matter on the infraction? If this was some random accountant, does it make the news? I don't know if it makes the news. But I do know that the infraction was significant. If anyone came to my house and did this, it wouldn't matter who they are. I would still be impacted by it, and I would still be irritated about it. So I don't know. And then the last thing I had was kind of the way I think about things is that, would your neighbor crashing into your parked car, banging on your front door at 3:30 in the morning, and then urinating on your garage door be enough for you to want to move? And then does the perception of crime matter? So as in, If you lived in a dicey neighborhood already, is this the last straw? Or does it play no factor in your decision? I mean, people make mistakes and all this stuff. I get it. But it's a question of like, do you want to live near? Do you want to live near a person that did something like this? Do you trust that do you trust your neighbor at that point? Should they move preemptively? I don't know. And I say this, I used to live in Detroit. I used to live on the south side of Detroit, and Michigan Avenue, and I don't remember the other street, but it was I think it was Dearborn in Michigan, but it was dicey. It was dicey, and things would happen in the backyard, and I wanted to get out of there. So the incidents were cumulative in that situation. So if that would have happened there, would that have caused me to want to move even more? Yes. Now in the suburbs, like say there's no crime in a particular suburb, would that matter? I don't know. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. Fellow went on a bender, maybe, allegedly. Let's be honest, he's being charged with things that might get knocked down to like a parking ticket or something. We never know with these things. But this idea of resolving conflict with your neighbor, it always seems to be incumbent on you when someone else has committed the infraction. I mean, this is clearly not your problem, but they've made it your problem. So I don't know. I hope you learned something. If you enjoyed it, that's great. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.